Last season for the Penn State Nittany Lions was very, very disappointing. It started off opening day when they played Indiana and took a L. They followed it up, I believe, losing to Ohio State, which set the mark for the rest of the season. I think they started about 0-4, 0-5. Um, James Franklin is a tremendous coach in my eyes. I have tremendous respect for him. He plays, some of the top team stuff. He plays Ohio State tough here and there. He's won a Big Ten championship. Some may feel back in 2016 he maybe should have went to the college football playoff, but that's in the past. He must have a successful season this year, and it all starts off when they play at Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a team that is also coming off a very terrible season. Both of these teams have a lot to prove, and I think that this game is going to be a tone setter for how these two teams' seasons are going to go. Now, obviously, it's not a shortened season. Let's hope it's not a shortened season. They can have more cracks at getting more wins. I believe Wisconsin and Penn State are going to be improved. I'm very interested to see this game because both teams have a lot to prove. Jahan Dotson is a shining star for the Penn State Nittany Lions. They do have to face Graham Mertz at quarterback for Wisconsin. If they can shut him down, it's going to be a high chance that they win this game. They follow that game up with a non-conference opponent in Ball State. This is a team that Penn State is far superior, and they have the talent. And James Franklin, I believe, will make sure that they play at a level that they are not in a ball fight. No pun intended. With Ball State, they should come away with a victory. But we've seen last year that teams not take these smaller schools serious, and end up really causing chaos and putting L's in a lot of these teams' seasons. Hopefully, if Penn State takes them serious, that would not be the case. After that, they have a huge game against Auburn. I'm excited for this one, man. The Big Ten gets to play the SEC. It's always been a huge argument about who's the better conference. Obviously the SEC, they had a lot of guys drafted this year. The Big Ten, they had some drafted this year. They had a couple first-round picks, not as many as the SEC. This is going to be a game that both teams are going to be excited to play for. Auburn did not have the best season last year. They're going to be ready to play. I'm excited to see what Auburn looks like this year, but I think that Penn State can play. If they can play to the level of competition, they should be able to be in this game with Auburn. Many people will feel that Auburn should win this game, even though, I do believe the Big Ten is better than the SEC from top to bottom, but Penn State, they have to bring their A game because the SEC, they are a lot bigger at many positions and at the line of scrimmage. Penn State is going to have to control the line of scrimmage. James Franklin is the guy that recruits for the line of scrimmage, so those guys need to be ready to play for this game. After that, they play Villanova. Now, this is a huge game in the state of Pennsylvania, but Villanova, they're not. I don't believe Villanova is at the talent level of Penn State. Penn State is by far the best team, the best football team in the state of Pennsylvania. This is a game that they should win, but again, you have to respect every opponent. Villanova is a team, lesser conference. This is a game that Penn State must win, especially if they see themselves possibly making it to a college football playoff. If they can defeat Wisconsin or Auburn, they'll be well on their way of getting to a possible college football playoff. After that, they play Indiana. This is, should be a revenge game. Indiana is a terrific team. Indiana's going to be ranked in the top 25 this year. They have a lot of talent. They have a lot of guys coming back. Indiana's going to be good. Penn State must play and not play around. Penn State was in the game last year. They had Indiana last year. There's a couple mistakes. If they can make sure they don't turn the ball over, they should be well enough, and they should be in the game where they can possibly come away with a victory versus Indiana. After that, it does get tough. They go to Iowa. Iowa loves playing the Big Ten East teams. They love, handing teams like Michigan and that team up north and Ohio State the L. This is a game that Penn State must be ready to play. Iowa they are a model of consistency. They're not going to beat themselves. And if Penn State turns the ball over, gives up easy touchdowns and get behind early, it can get real bad real quick. So Penn State must control the game, not be intimidated by a crowd. I do believe this game will have a lot of people in the stands. So a true road game. After that, they follow that up against Illinois at home. Illinois is a team, they're struggling. Many people believe that this is going to be a very tough season for the Illinois. And Penn State, do not give them any light. You have to come out, get up on them fast, and make sure they lay over and quit. Then it gets tough because they have to go to the Horseshoe, play Ohio State. It's been reported that, in the state of Ohio, the governor said that it's possible that the Horseshoe can be full capacity. So we're talking over 100,000 people back in the Horseshoe. To see this Penn State game, that crowd's going to be ramped up and ready to go. Now, Ohio State, we have no idea who the quarterback is going to be. Regardless of who the quarterback is going to be, they have a lot of guys coming back. They have first-round prospects, especially in the offense. They gave Penn State a lot of trouble last year, and it was a beatdown on primetime TV. James Franklin has to know, this can't happen again. He's going to have his team ready to go. He plays Ohio State tough here and there. He's defeated Ohio State before, and it's going to take a lot to defeat Ohio State because Ohio State does not beat themselves. Penn State has to come in knowing that they're the underdog, knowing that they can beat Ohio State with the belief. They believe that they can do it. If they can do that, have the belief they don't beat themselves, it's a possibility they can scrunch, Ohio State season because Ohio State is going to have a lot to play for just like Penn State. And this is going to be a game this is most likely going to be a game that determines who's going to be going to Indianapolis to fight for a Big Ten championship, possibly a college football playoff berth for both teams. Ohio State is also going to be ranked in the probably top 5 around this time. So this is going to be a huge game. After that, they go to Maryland. Maryland and Penn State is a huge rivalry game. If people don't know, Maryland, they have had a great offense. Their offense looked really good in the spring game. This is a game that Penn State must take seriously. Regardless of what happens, the Ohio State game, they have to bounce back, win or loss, and they have to, come in and get a victory because, this can ruin their season, regardless of the Ohio State outcome. They cannot let it destroy their season. They have to come in and beat Maryland because the goal is to get to a Big Ten championship and win a college football playoff for Penn State for the first time in school history. After that, they follow it up against that team up north. They get them at home this year. Harbaugh, he's really good against everybody but Ohio State, Michigan State, and Penn State. Penn State plays. They have the recipe to defeat Harbaugh. Now, the defense that Harbaugh has this year is rumored to be good. We'll see if that's true. But if Penn State can stop Harbaugh's offense, Josh Gaddis, another year under his belt, they can really win this game. Maybe it's a whiteout game, a night game. Penn State loves doing that. They play really well. They play okay in a night game. Hopefully it's a whiteout. I love seeing that crowd. Hopefully their crowd is at full capacity. But this is a game that Penn State can definitely win, as long as they don't beat themselves. This is a game that everyone is excited to see. They go to Rutgers. Rutgers comes to Penn State. Rutgers plays hard. They don't have 4 and 5 stars, but they have a 4 and 5 star mentality. Greg Schiano is going to make sure those guys are ready to play, and this can be another stumbling block in Penn State season. The biggest key for Penn State is making sure that they do not overlook the opponents. If they can do that, they're well on their way of possibly getting back to a Big Ten championship, possibly a college football playoff. They end at Michigan State. Michigan State is, been struggling. They have a great defense, but they can be trying to play spoiler. But the key to Penn State is taking each opponent serious, getting through Ohio State, getting through Harbaugh, and they have a high chance of getting to a college football playoff, and also taking care of Auburn and Wisconsin. Those are the 4 biggest games I see. But it all starts week 1 with Wisconsin. If they can get out of that game with a victory, it's going to set the tone for their season and possibly their first ever, I hope not, but it's a possibility, their first ever college football playoff appearance. And it's going to be huge. If they can go to the Horseshoe and defeat Ohio State and then follow that up beating Harbaugh later in the season, we could be looking at one of the best seasons in Penn State program history. But it all starts week 1, setting a tone for how this season is going to go.